All right, so this is the handout that I created, or the cheat sheet that I created to help myself remember some of the GCC's handouts and resources that I might otherwise forget. So here on the left side, I've included some different categories of handouts that I think will be useful for kind of different situations. So the first grouping that I put together are handouts for organization and structural concerns. So here I've included this thesis statement Parthenon handout, which I think is really useful for showing visually how thesis statements can be created versus just kind of relying on like an out loud description of what a thesis statement should be. I've also included the executive summaries handout because that's a genre that I'm a little bit unfamiliar with, as well as the reverse outlining handout, which I think could be useful for sending away with students after we have reverse outlines so that they can kind of have a record of how to do that on their own. And then also the abstracts handout. And I've also noted that we have samples of abstracts from dissertations. So I think that those handouts are found in the organization and structure folder inbox, and I think that they'll be really useful, but I just don't want to forget that we have them. So I've also included handouts for content issues, specifically in research sessions or sessions that revolve around like research writing. So here I've included the lexical bundles for both the novelty moves and academic writing conventions, as well as the methods and results expressions. So again, these are things that I think will be really useful, but I just need to remember that we have them so that I can kind of pull those out either while I'm prepping for a session or send them to a student later after we've talked about them. So then I also have here helpful handouts for language issues. So I've included Julianne's article decision tree, which I think is awesome and kind of remove some of the burden for us in having to know all of these different article rules, and instead lets the writer figure out how they can be keeping track of their articles. And then I've also included the analysis verbs handout, which has tons of different options for describing what students are doing when they're analyzing. I think that that's useful because analysis and analyzing can be kind of hard to explain out loud, I think. So having some examples to point to in a session will be useful. Then I've also included the comma rules handout because I feel like I can articulate the comma rules out loud, but again, having a piece of paper to point to I think is really important. And then I also have this section, don't forget about ... And these are handouts that I think that I will draw on a lot. They are in like the commonly used folder, but I think as I've been entering sessions or mock sessions, I sometimes forget or maybe get overwhelmed by all of the different options. So I think just having them on paper so that I can, I guess, kind of evaluate what I need and be able to see all of my options, that's kind of what this little section is doing. And then here on the right-hand side of this table, I have kind of condensed Joanna's handout that she made for tutors about how to work with statements of purpose and kind of what a statement of purpose session can look like. So even though that is a handout that we have that I guess like there's a longer version that I could reference, I think that just having these written down and having like the act of writing them down was really useful for me in kind of remembering what we should be focusing on when we think about statements of purpose. So I've included both the qualities, characteristics, skills that faculty will want to see, so that will help with identifying what the student wants to organize their paper around or their statement of purpose around. And then I've also included the kind of procedure or session plan that Joanna laid out, which goes through explaining the genre, having the student identify the skills from this list, identifying their paper where they've discussed those. If they haven't discussed them, then we'll switch to brainstorming. And then I've reminded myself to take lots of notes, and then allow the student to review prioritizing group, the skills and experiences that we've talked about. And then from there, we can move on to either an outline or generating some paragraphs. So yeah, this is my cheat sheet. I guess it could be fancier or color-coded or something, but I think that really I just needed some lists of handouts and resources that I don't want to forget. So that's that. Thanks for watching.